Hey, Roger Martin here for Billings, Montana. This Bush senior thing is just bizarre. And the original father, their grandfather of the Bushes, his involvement in all this is beyond crazy. They still won't release this information because of what he knows or what other things are going on. It's just bizarre. Even with the Trump saying it's going to be released, it's not. So there's something to do with the CIA,
Not
our
be
government, to
misled
cover up
by
with
this
all this
word
stuff. They
addresses.
don't want this information
Nobody
out,
is
really.
or
They never
was
have.
asking for any addresses. All you have to do is look at the details, which is that the FBI, the CIA, and other unnamed agencies, let me guess, the NSA, deemed that this information was sensitive to national security. So the question becomes, who on earth are they protecting? Whose identity? Never mind the addresses.
Yeah, this is a con job. Let's go to Senior Bush is one of them. Almost senile, and they're afraid of what he's going to say. Let's go to this Prescott Bush. And he tells about how this Union Banking Corporation was favoring both sides, both the Nazis and the Americans, and a form of espionage. But these banking concerns, these banking people, they don't give a crap. It's all money to them. Doesn't matter who gets killed in the
Union Banking
process.
Corporation, which literally funded the United States and the Nazis during World War II.
Now, I didn't know that. So there's so much more going on here. It's just scary. So Bush's grandfather helps Hitler's rise to power.
They
This
gave
is
him money and loaned
amazing.
him money in the 30s before World War II. No. They were doing business and funding the Nazis into October of 1942.
Until October of 1942. How ridiculous. This guy didn't want to be in, and they pushed him into presidency. The powers that be, this stupid thing about the bullet, all this crap going through different people and whatnot. Bush is in the thick of things with the CIA, was even with Eisenhower. Even with
President right before
Eisenhower.
JFK. His very last speech before leaving the White House was literally about outing the military-industrial complex, that various powers that are able to remain anonymous in the intelligence community were able to seize power that far exceeded the Constitution and the powers of the presidency. That was his very last.
The espionage and all this other stuff. Even JFK talked about secret societies and other things. But I didn't know JFK wanted not to fund Vietnam War and wanted to stop the stuff at, I knew he wanted to stop the stuff at Cuba. But now this guy's saying the Vietnam War was a front, and so is Cuba. So it looks like a lot of these wars were made up just to make money.
For those who want increased security. And this ties right into the reason or a motive, a significant motive of why the powers that be in the intelligence communities or the military-industrial complex would want to kill JFK. Take, for example, the Cuban Missile Crisis. All the intelligence officials and chief of staffs wanted to launch and go straight to war with Cuba. JFK did not go along with it. He showed restraint and he made the right decision. And this is the part where it gets really disturbing. Declassified documents that most people are completely unaware of prove that the United States government conspired to commit a false flag attack to blame on Cuba in order to implement a full-fledged invasion
False
of the
flag
country.
attack. How many false flag attacks have we had to get us into wars so the powers that be could make money off of the bloodshed? Way too many. Even talks about how they gave a bunch of different scenarios that would be more easy to make us gullible and believe something was going on.
The American public to support this war. And you can press pause and look at the other tactics that they were investigating. This is real. And just look at the date on that. Less than a year after JFK said it would happen. So here's the part you really need to know. JFK's signature was the only one left that was required in order to implement this plan. He refused. So the second most likely reason involves Vietnam. Although JFK did send troops, and at the time of his death, there was approximately 16,000. He refused to do a full-fledged invasion like the powers that be wanted to. And you can see here, JFK died towards the end of 1963, and just over a year later, that number would grow exponentially, and even more
in the years following. 385, 485, 536,000, 475,000. Good crap.
Utilized it as an excuse for Congress to vote for war on the resolution to completely invade that country. And that happened in August of 1964.
And that was a false flag incident set up. Again, how many false flags have there done for wars and bloodshed? They got rid of JFK because he would not play along. Let's be clear about this. They got rid of JFK because he would not play along, and so they figured waste him. And they did. They killed him because he would not play along. How pathetic is that? I'm going to leave it there. I don't think there's anything else he's got here. All right. Nixon sabotaged police box so he could look like a hero. So, what a jerk he was too.
On the Paris peace talks, which would of course end the conflict, or war I should say, in Vietnam. All you ever hear about is Richard Nixon being tricky dick and Watergate, bugging the hotel rooms of his political opponents to get himself an advantage, when all this time it was known that he literally sabotaged the Paris peace talks in order so he could get credit when he became president for ending the war and being like, look, I'm the hero. Meanwhile, more than 20,000 people were killed and who knows how many injured while those peace talks were delayed.
Which brings me back to the media being complicit in this stuff and being a pawn off the CIA or the industrial power complex. Either one, doesn't matter. Military industrial complex or the CIA, doesn't matter. They're both complicit and being, the media's just been a pawn along in this whole scheme. It's frickin' ridiculous.
Just like I mentioned in the video prior to this one, where I say that the mainstream media is complicit in cover-ups and manipulation of information. Just look at the date that the New York Times covered this story. New Year's Eve, probably the least watched news day of the year, and people are the only thing they're watching is Times Square and the ball dropping. Do you see what I'm talking about here? The cover-up is real. The United States government plotted a false flag attack to go to Cuba. Unsuccessfully because JFK said no. JFK said no to a full-scale invasion. Less than a year later, they literally voted to go invade Vietnam based on a false flag attack that never happened, and they knew it. And this is 100% verifiable. Declassified documents prove this. 99%, again, like I say, probably, maybe 98, have no idea. The truth is stranger than fiction, guys. I'm not kidding when I say that. This is real. So when you consider that someone or multiple people are still alive that have some sort of information that's critical to national security is still being withheld 54 freaking years after the assassination of JFK. What does that tell you?
It tells me that this government still doesn't want to be exposed for the cons and cheats they are, in the industrial military complex still is controlling this whole damn mess, from the political people to the wars to the media. All over blood and money and control and power. Goodness, Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day. New headphones, new mic. Won't be sticking out. It's on the side here. It seems to be working okay. This is from Billings, Montana, Roger Martin. And we are in a world of hurt because of money and power and greed. And I say these things and testify of these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.